It's time for Physician Family Finances, the show where physician moms and dads like you can get the answers and encouragement you need to turn a good earned income into great life outcomes for tomorrow and today.
Hello, physician moms and dads. I'm Nate Reineke, certified financial planner and primary advisor.
And I'm Chelsea Jones, also a certified financial planner and primary advisor here at Physician Family Financial Advisors.
Chelsea, the holidays are upon us. I think this comes out on the day before Thanksgiving. So I'm not a big Thanksgiving food person.
Really?
I know, it's terrible. It's terrible. I think I finally convinced everybody in my house, which is terrible because if people want it, then they should have it. But I just can't. I hope my grandmother isn't listening to this. I don't think she is. I don't even know if she knows what podcasts are. But she's not the greatest cook. So I went to Thanksgiving dinners for so long, and the food was so bad. I mean, the best food was the store-bought rolls by a mile. It was terrible. So,
no.
But tell me what your favorite Thanksgiving food is, so maybe you can put me on some game here.
I had the complete opposite experience of you growing up. I love Thanksgiving. My grandparents were very good cooks. My aunts and uncles are good cooks. The way we did Thanksgiving was each of my mom's siblings, there's 6 of them total. Every household had a designated dish that they brought every year. My mom's was always sausage balls and deviled eggs.
Those are good.
Yeah. And everyone would just come. So it was all homemade. My favorite, though, my aunt, probably not listening, but if you are, she makes the best broccoli casserole. It's like a broccoli cheddar casserole. It is so good. I look forward to it every year. And then just the nostalgia of the typical like turkey and gravy with dressing or stuffing, whatever you want to call it. It's so good.
Yeah,
Takes me back.
Each one of those dishes that you're describing sounds good. I think it was just I was scarred. I was scarred for some pretty bad food. Okay, well, I thought we could do something fun today. We could talk about some things that we're thankful for, and in the spirit of this podcast, let's talk about money lessons we're thankful for. And I thought this was cool because most of the money lessons came from the people at my Thanksgiving dinner table. So I'm going to give you one that I learned from Thanksgiving table, and one I learned just in life. So I remember I got my first job and out of college, and of course, like any good newly employed, 22-year-old, first thing I wanted to do was go buy a car. Okay, so I had this, I would always get, my graduation present for high school was I got a discount on my mom's old Honda. That was my graduation present. So I had to sell whatever crappy car I had at the time, and whatever I got from him, I had to give to my mom, and then the balance, which was, I don't know, $2,000, she just cleared the debt for me. So I wanted a new car, and I went looking for it, and my dad, who's a financial advisor, could not believe his ears. He said, "You should never spend your money before you actually have it." And that is so true, right? Anytime I hear people all day long, doctors talking about, I'm going to get this raise, we're going to buy this house, whatever it is. It's like, you don't even have the money yet. And I know with houses, it's a little bit hard, but actually let yourself enjoy that income a little bit and start building up some reserves before you go spend it. What's one that you have? Money lesson you're thankful for?
Yeah, you kind of hinted at mine. It's pay yourself first. And this comes from a book that I read in college as part of a class. It was called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's an old book. It literally, I think it was, I don't know, it's from the Stone Ages. It's so old. But, and the gist of the book is it has 10 lessons that you should learn to be financially sound. And I remember one of the 10, and it's pay yourself first. I think in the book it said you should pay yourself 10% and then live off of 90. But I like to just pay yourself first because it's so applicable with money and with everything else in life. So setting aside an emergency fund is paying yourself first. Because future you is going to be really thankful that it's there when an emergency happens. Filling up an HSA is a pay yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Maxing out your 401k. And this has paid so many dividends in my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
And just being prepared.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times we get lost in sort of the technical aspects of money, but some of these just timeless examples and money lessons that we are taught from old books, old people, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
they're really like the meat and potatoes of how to be financially secure.
It really is. And it's so widely applicable. It's even like a non-money example is if you're trying to be healthy and you need to get up early to work out, pay yourself first by setting out your clothes that you need, put your shoes right there, set an alarm. So that way when the time comes, all you have to do is get up, your clothes are right there, walk out the door.
That's
like
right.
Just set yourself up for success in little ways and it'll pay dividends.
Yeah. Good. Okay, I have another one. I experienced this early on in my marriage. Nobody actually ever told me this. This is I guess a saying maybe I'll teach my kids. But I would say no material item is worth having money fights over. A lot of my family is from California, and they have a culture of having nice cars. And when me and my wife Brittany, started to get into our careers and make a little bit of money, we kind of still drove crappy cars. And to this day, we kind of drive crappy cars. Like I have a nice car, but it was like really nice back in 2015 when it was made. But we'd go to California and we'd see these people. We're still a little bit younger, but we'd go to California. We'd see all these nice cars around us, and we knew what all these people did for work. We're like, what? Like, where'd you get the scratch for that? And every time we would go, we'd look at each other and be like, what do we do? Like, why don't we get a nice car? Why don't we get a bigger house? Whatever it is. And one time I looked at Brittany and I said, but we have never had a money fight. Never once. And so, like, we can go do all this stuff, but the pressure of buying material things just so you can go home and fight with your spouse about money is not worth it. So every time we think about doing something like that, because you and I as financial advisors are not immune to material possessions, I just look at her and say, we still don't fight about money. Let's keep that going. Let's pay cash.
Yeah.
Let's buy a few years older. Let's not upgrade in house before we're really ready. And that has paid so much. That has put so much happiness into our lives and just calm into our lives. And I think it's something that the younger generation needs to hear, because the older generation had this down pat. Our grandparents weren't worried about driving around, at least in my neighborhood, weren't worried about driving around in the nicest cars and having the absolute nicest house. They had a few nice things and they saved their money, and they definitely paid themselves first.
Yeah, excellent.
Got one more for us?
I got one more. And this one, it really comes down to being responsible with your money allows you certain, I guess, privileges, and in my case, it can buy you time. So one thing that I've learned is that my time is really valuable. I never really thought of my time as valuable in the past, but as I've, started a career, started a family, there's only so many hours in the day. There's only so many hours in the day that I get to spend with my family. And because I've done my level best to be responsible with my money, there's a little bit of wiggle room there to order DoorDash and not spend the time cooking a meal. So that way I can be engaged with, play with my daughter a little more, or A recent one is we bought Lightning Lane tickets at Disney.
Yeah.
Those are like really, I don't want to call them dumb examples. I wouldn't say they're super profound.
Yeah.
But the Lightning Lane, I kid you not, saved us an hour, hour and a half of wait time. And it allowed us to go see friends in another part of the park and have time to do that.
Yeah.
And
Especially with little kids, you're like, it's about the best money you could spend, probably.
yeah,
But if you're tight
yeah.
and you're just barely squeezing that Disney trip in there, you're like, I can't.
Mhm.
You know, I think the podcast, everyone knows about Vacation Nate on this podcast if you've been listening a while. I don't want to go on a vacation that I can't spend money on lightning passes. Like, let's just not go. You know, just save up for an extra month and get them. I was talking to a very, very well prepared family for retirement just a couple weeks ago, and one spouse was kind of like watches their spending really tight, and the other one I think is also very responsible, but in
Mhm.
comparison to the tighter one, just she's like, she can't take it anymore. So she said we're taking everybody to Mexico, like 8 people, but I'm only allowed to go on one $1,600 excursion, not 2. I'm like, I never thought as a financial advisor I'd be telling people to buy the dang excursion. But,
Mhm.
you know, when you're good with money, and they have been good with money for decades, buy the
Yeah.
dang excursion.
Yeah.
Blow
If
it
you're
out.
paying yourself first, you're paying for future Vacation Nate to go
That's
on the
right.
stinking excursion and be able
That's
to
right.
enjoy the vacation. And it's it's so important to do that for so many
Yeah.
reasons. Spend time with your family, avoid burnout.
Agreed.
Yeah. Have fun.
Okay. You ready to get into some questions?
Let's get into them. So the first question is from a neurosurgeon in New York. He said, I just got a bonus payment and I have a large lump sum to invest. Should I do a one-time deposit into my taxable account or dollar cost average? This is a great question. It's one that I get not super often, but more than once a year, so often enough. And the gist of it, there's a numbers answer and there's a feelings answer. And the thing to remember is at the end of the day, we want to make a plan that you'll follow. We need to keep that in mind. But if we're looking at straight performance, Vanguard actually put out a study, I think they do this every year or every other year, where they compare lump sum investing and dollar cost averaging and compare the returns. The lump sum investment outperforms dollar cost averaging 2/3 of the time. I think it was like 68, 69% or something. So if you have the tolerance, stick it all in there at once. If that makes you queasy, and if it's either stick it all in at once or don't do it at all because you're really nervous, then you want to dollar cost average. Rip it in the market over time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Basically, putting dollar cost averaging isn't necessarily like you think you're going to get better returns. It's just make sure that you stick with the plan, sort of thing.
Because both of those options are better than it sitting in cash.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Next question's from a cardiologist in Oregon. They said, we earn $700,000 a year and we watch what we spend to some extent, yet at the end of the month we're out of money. What do you think the problem is?
Oh, so this was another an oversight on my end. I should have heard this loud and clear and thought there ain't no way. But instead, what did I do, Chelsea? You watched me do it. I dove into the budget. I'm like, what are you spending your money on? Goodness gracious, 700,000. You know, you can barely save. There's no money at the end of the month. That doesn't make any sense. What are you spending your money on? I was just like, you know, it's just like the typical financial person's response. Let's rip open that budget. Like, and you know, we looked at it and it didn't seem too bad. And the first question I should have asked is, what's your take home pay? Right? Because I cannot tell you how many times when I get this, it ends up being that they're withholding way too much money. They're withholding way too much money. And sure enough, a couple months later, we find out, I didn't even uncover it. I'm so ashamed. Their accountant said, you're getting this massive tax return. like, I think 6 figures.
Yeah.
And so there was like $10,000 a month or more that just, they're like, where's all the, and I don't get it. Why can't I spend? And now all of a sudden they have plenty of money. And so if you feel like there ain't no way I'm spending this much money, check your withholding. Check your withholding. And I know most people want to withhold extra so they don't owe anything, but if you're planning just right, you get close enough and you have an emergency fund, you can pay your tax bill if it's a couple $1,000s at the end of the year.
Yeah. And in this case, he was a partner to practice, and so he made quarterly payments and was overpaying.
Yeah.
And if there's a year where you get a $150,000 refund, but your CPA doesn't change your quarterly tax payment, get a different tax preparer.
Fire them.
That's a red flag, because you don't want to be overpaying your tax prepayment. It's like a recipe for wondering where the extra $10,000 a month went.
How are you going to pay yourself first if an extra $12,000 a month is going to the IRS so they can hand it back to you and you lost at a bare minimum interest? You know, a lot of stress along the way.
It is. Okay. The next question comes from the wife of a retired general surgeon in Oregon. She said, my husband's on Medicare, but I'm not, and my insurance covers our youngest son. Should I have an HSA? But this has a couple of moving pieces too, a few things to note. Because you listeners out there, one of these things to note probably applies to you. So first, as long as you have qualifying coverage and you don't have some kind of thing that requires you to go to the doctor frequently, then you probably should have a high deductible plan and pair it with an HSA. The HSA, we talk about HSAs all the time. It's the single best savings vehicle because you get tax deferral, you can invest the money, it grows tax-free, and you can take it out tax-free for medical expenses, ideally in retirement, so that way it can be invested and grow the whole time. So get the HSA if you're able to. Since her son is on her insurance, you'll actually be able to contribute the full family amount. But the kind of tricky things to remember is, first, if your son falls off your insurance, if he gets it through his employer, if he turns 26, I think that's when they get kicked off, you have to reduce your contribution amount to only be the individual limit. Because it has to be you plus one other person to qualify for the family coverage. And in this situation, it can't be her husband. He's on Medicare. Medicare automatically disqualifies you from having an HSA because it's not high deductible coverage. And then in the same vein, once you, the wife, turns 65, you can no longer qualify, or you can no longer contribute to your HSA, or you shouldn't. You don't want to. Because once you apply for Medicare, even if you delay Medicare enrollment, a lot of times it can be retroactive, and it could go all the way back to cover you at 65 retroactively. And if you have HSA contributions going in after age 65 and they become disqualified later because you have retroactive Medicare coverage, that's just a big mess you don't want to deal with. HSA is best for most people. If you're on Medicare, no HSA. And then family limit is you plus one other person, and it doesn't have to be your spouse. It can be a dependent. So those are the takeaways there.
Okay. All right. One last question.
One last question from a dermatologist in Texas. My in-laws are selling their home, and we're thinking about buying it and turning it into a rental property. What do you think?
Okay. So still getting questions, despite the rough real estate market, about should I buy real estate? Should I diversify my portfolio? Should I start making, passive income? I've made my thoughts really clear on that throughout the podcast. I don't necessarily think you and I, Chelsea, when we help people invest, we try to avoid income at all costs, because obviously most doctors are in a really high tax bracket unless you're going to become a a real estate professional. Maybe your spouse is going to become a real estate professional, put 1,000 hours into real estate so you can actually enjoy the tax breaks that real estate might offer you. It just generally isn't a great fit. It's a lot of time and energy. And again, I've said this many times, doesn't mean real estate's a bad investment. It's just not generally a good investment for physicians who are busy, unless they are good at one thing, and that is finding really good deals and their copious extra time that the physician has. So if they're really good at finding great deals, that's how you win in real estate. You don't win in real estate just by buying any old property, right? You can buy any old index fund, usually, and it might give you a return. There's some are better than others, but it's hard to totally screw that up if you're buying a total market index fund. But you can't just buy any old property. It's got to actually, you have to get a deal. And if you can't get a deal, it's probably not going to produce a bunch of income. It's probably going to produce a bunch of headaches. Okay. So let me ask you, Chelsea, if your in-laws are trying to sell you, or trying to sell their house, are you going to squeeze them to death for a great deal?
No.
Probably not. You're going to like pay full price plus some. Like, here,
Yeah.
mom and dad, like, I know you need to buy your retirement home tomorrow and you need some extra cash, but my financial advisor told me I need to squeeze you to death for a good deal.
Yeah,
No,
that's
of course
just,
not.
that opens up a whole can of worms that I personally just would not want to get into, mixing finances with, especially in-laws. Like, I don't want that potential, like, friction
Of course.
to even
Yeah.
be there.
And of course that was this dermatologist in Texas. That was their answer. Of course they're not going to. They just wanted to pay full price, but like not more, but not less. And so that just doesn't seem like a good real estate transaction to me. And this tends to be how the average person, including doctors who aren't real estate people, like they're not all in on real estate. This is kind of how they operate. They just kind of buy a house that's good for them. And then they just think, well, I already have the house. I might as well just keep it as a rental. That's not any way to buy a rental house. You buy a rental house because it's good investment, not because it was good for your family when you bought it. Now, sometimes it works out. Sometimes you have a ridiculously low interest rate and it just happens to be in a good neighborhood that rents well. But at least the people that I know that are really great in real estate, they are ruthless with finding good deals. And most of their properties that are the real money makers are nowhere near the neighborhoods I see physicians living in. They're in neighborhoods that have a bunch of renters, right? Therefore, they're a little bit cheaper. They're near a college or something. It's, so I think the short answer is this isn't a great deal, and unless you really want to get it all in on real estate and spend time away from your work, which probably makes you a lot more than real estate does, I don't think it's a good idea. Okay, in-laws, Thanksgiving. Think about how Thanksgiving dinner would taste if you just rinsed your in-laws for like a great deal on their house. I don't think it would taste very good. All right, well, that's it for today. Thank you for everyone for listening. We are so thankful for you and all the support we get on the podcast. If you have any questions, you can send them our way. You can send them to podcast@physicianfamily.com. And if you're thankful for us, you can give us a rating. You can like our show, and it helps us get our name out there. If you send us a question, we'll make sure to answer it, hopefully before the holiday season. And until next time, remember, you're not just making a living, you're making a life.
Are you ready to turn worries about taxes and investing into all the money you need for college and retirement? It's time to make a plan and get on track. To find out if we're a match, visit physicianfamily.com and click Get Started. Or you can ask a question of your own by emailing podcast@physicianfamily.com. See marketing disclosures at physicianfamily.com/disclosures.